Andrew Lost. In the Jungle. By J. C. Greenburg. Andrew's World. Andrew Double. Andrew is 10 years old, but he's been inventing things since he was 4. Andrew's inventions usually get him into trouble, like the time he accidentally took the water-bug underwater vehicle on a trip to the deepest place on Earth. Andrew's newest invention was supposed to save the world from getting buried in garbage. Instead, it squashed Andrew and his cousin Judy down to beetle size. They got hauled off to a dump, thrown up by a seagull, and carried off by a bat. Now they're flying across the Pacific Ocean on the back of a bird. Judy Double. Judy is Andrew's 13-year-old cousin. She's been snuffled into a dog's nose, pooped out of a whale, and had her pajamas chewed by a tyrannosaurus all because of Andrew. Judy thought that nothing weirder could ever happen to her until today. Thud. The handy ultra-digital detective. Thud is a super smart robot and Andrew's best friend. He has helped save Andrew and Judy from the exploding sun, the giant squid, and a monster asteroid. Now can he protect his tiny buddies from meat-eating plants, dinner plate-sized spiders, and shocking animals? The Boa constrictor. This giant fake snake is Andrew's newest invention. Boa is sort of short for garbage goes away. The Boa is supposed to keep the world from getting buried in garbage by squashing rotting vegetables, green meat, and dirty diapers down to teensy-weensy specks. Unfortunately for Andrew and Judy, the Boa doesn't just shrink garbage. In 2 minutes and 1 stinky burp, the Boa can shrink anything and anyone. Uncle Owl. He's a super-secret scientist, Andrew and Judy's uncle, and Thud's inventor. Uncle Owl is really smart, but is he smart enough to save his beetle-sized niece and nephew from the incredibly weird dangers of the Australian jungle? Even the trees are deadly. It's a jungle down there. I wonder where we are now, thought Andrew Double. Andrew, no bigger than a beetle, poked his head above a feather on the bird's back. A cold wind smacked his face as he peered at the earth far below. Wowzers schnauzers! Andrew shouted. I see green down there. It's land! Now maybe this bird will take a break. She's been flying over the ocean for ages. Another feather on the bird's back twitched. A pile of frizzy dark hair popped up and went wild in the wind. It was Andrew's 13-year-old cousin, Judy. Judy shook her hair away from her face. Fat chance, bug brain, she yelled above the wind. This bird is an Arctic tern. She's on her way to Antarctica. Unless Uncle Owl gets our messages, we're penguin chow. Uncle Owl was Andrew and Judy's uncle, and he was also a super smart, super secret scientist. Meep. Unkai I'll not call back yet, came a squeaky voice from Andrew's shirt pocket. It was Andrew's little silver mini robot and best friend, Thud. And penguin not eat bugs. Oh, great, groaned Judy. So we'll just turn into bug-sized ice cubes. The bird spread her wings wide and glided. She's going lower, said Andrew. Now Andrew could see a wide, sandy beach and a forest beyond. Looks like a deserted island, said Andrew. No op! No op! No op, said Thud. AU Australia. Continent. Australia, said Judy. Cities. People. Someone could find us. As the bird glided lower still, Andrew saw driftwood and heaps of seaweed on the beach. But he didn't see any people. Now the bird was flying over the forest. It looked like a bumpy blanket of green. Here and there, tall trees poked through. A river zigzagged through the greenness like a silver snake. The bird swooped down through the treetops and into the forest. At first Andrew could hardly see in the dim light under the leaves. His eyes were used to the brightness of the open sky. The air was alive with screeches and cries and cackles, chirps and whistles, and a sound like crazy laughter. The bird dove under huge fan-shaped leaves. "Look at this place," Judy said. "Nothing but tangles of trees and vines." "It's a jungle, Meep." "Rainforest," said Thud. "AU Australian rainforest strange, strange, strange. Got plants and animals that not live any other place. Got most poisonous snakes in world. People found 86,000 kinsa insects. Found 10,000 kinsa spiders. People always finding new kinsa plants and animals. Maybe Druid and Udi find new stuff." "Neato mosquito," said Andrew. "Maybe I'll find a new kind of spider." "EU," Judy groaned. 10,000 kinds of spiders are way too many, Meep. "Maybe Udi find new kind of plant," said Thud. "Rainforest got lots of plants. Make lots of oxygen for Earth. Lots of medicines come from rainforest plants." Judy rolled her eyes. "We don't need to find plants," she said. "We need to find people. Meep. Rainforest not got lots of people," said Thud. The bird slowed down. She settled herself on a branch midway up a tall tree. The air felt warm and damp against Andrew's skin. Andrew sniffed, in the jungle smells green leaves, sweet flowers, and something musty, like a wet basement. Andrew looked down to the floor of the rainforest way below. "We must be 6 stories above the ground," he said. "But at least we're on land again." "Let's get off this bird." "Chop chop," said Judy, before she heads for penguin country. Andrew climbed down through the feathers on the tern's back. He reached a long flight feather at the edge of a wing. He pondered. "We can jump from this feather to the branch below." Just then, the bird swiveled her head. Andrew saw his reflection in a shiny black eye. I wonder what Arctic terns eat," he said. "Meep. Eat little fish. Shrimp. Insects, too," said Thud. "Or insect-sized humans," said Andrew. He ducked under a flight feather and pulled it down tightly over himself. A pointy red beak dove into the feathers behind Andrew. Then it plunged into the feathers close to Andrew. The beak grabbed the bottom of one of the feathers. It nibbled along the edges right up to the tip. "Meep. Bird preen feather," said Thud. "Spread oil to keep feather dry. Preening make feather smooth for flying. Get rid of little bugs, too." The beak preened another feather even closer to Andrew. "Wowzers schnauzers," said Andrew. "We've got to get out of here." Just then, the red beak grabbed the feather he was clinging to and began to preen it. The beak pushed Andrew to the very tip of the feather. He was barely hanging on. That black eye was looking right at him. "She's hungry and I'm a bug," thought Andrew. He let go. 2 SSSSSS kiki. "Yarg," hollered Andrew, tumbling down and down. He waved his hands, frantically trying to grab a leaf or a vine. Finally, he snagged something with his right hand. "Wowzers schnauzers," cried Andrew. He was clutching a tall blade of grass. The forest floor was inches below. But he was dangling above something strange. It looked like a red and white tub covered with hairs. It was so big that beetle-sized Andrew could have taken a bath in it. "Holy moly," said Andrew. "What's that, Meep?" "Pitcher plant," said Thud. "Pitcher plant carnivorous. Eat meat. Got special juice at bottom of pitcher. Juice digest bug meat that fall inside plant. Like stomach digest pizza inside druid." "Jumping gerbils," said Andrew. "A meat-eating plant, and I'm meat." He began walking his hands along the blade of grass to get away from the pitcher plant. Suddenly the blade bent. Andrew dipped lower. One of Andrew's legs slipped inside the pitcher. Oh, thought Andrew. He tried to pull his leg out, but the inside of the pitcher was too smooth and slippery. Andrew was sweat-ing. The screeching, cackling jungle noises made it hard to think. With his free leg, Andrew gave a mighty push against the outside of the pitcher plant. He got his other leg out. Phew, he sighed, still dangling from the grass. His ears picked up a new sound nearby. SSSSSSSS. Kee-kee-kee, kee-kee-kee. On the ground beside the pitcher plant, two gigantic black beetles were creeping toward each other. They were hissing and clicking. At the front of each beetle's head was a curved horn as long as the rest of its body. Holy moly, whispered Andrew. Those guys look as big as trucks, meep. Rhinoceros beetles, said Thud. Now the beetles' enormous horns were almost touching. They stopped. They stamped their clawed feet and wagged their armored heads. One beetle charged the other. They locked horns under Andrew's blade of grass. They shook their giant heads from side to side. The bigger beetle flipped the smaller one on its back. The feet of the smaller beetle clawed at the bigger beetle's head. Meep. Male rhinoceros beetles fight to get mate, said Thud. Horns strong, strong, strong. Can cut off head of other rhinoceros beetle. Watch out below, came a yell from above. Andrew looked up to see Judy tumbling through the air. Oomph! Judy landed on a taller blade of grass right next to Andrew. Her feet smacked the top of Andrew's head. Youch! He hollered. His stem bent lower. His feet clunked against the horn of the bigger beetle. SSSSSSSSSS, hissed the beetle. It reared up on its back legs. Its front legs clawed the air. The tip of its terrible horn touched Andrew's nose. YAAARGH, screamed Andrew. Andrew, shouted Judy. There's a bright green twig sticking out from the tree trunk behind you. Grab it! Andrew swung himself toward the tree. He spotted the twig and wrapped his legs quickly around it. Make room for me, yelled Judy, swinging herself at the twig. She slammed into it and scrambled on behind Andrew. Now climb a little way up the tree trunk, said Judy. Before we fall into the middle of this stupid beetle battle. Then we've got to call Uncle Al again. Andrew felt a jolt. Maybe we don't have to climb up the tree trunk, said Andrew. This twig is climbing. 3. The Case of the Killer Tree. Cheese Louise, exclaimed Judy. It is climbing, Drud and Udi getting right on stick insect, said Thud. Rainforest got lots of insects that look like stick, look like twig. Got insects that look like leaf, too. Weirdamundo, said Judy, jiggling on the back of the skittering bug. Meep. Good disguise for prey animal, said Thud. Look like stuff around it. Disguise called camouflage. Hard for predator animal to find prey animal that got camouflage. Camouflage, shamouflage, said Judy. We could get bounced off this bug any minute. Call Uncle Al again, Thud. Okie dokie, said Thud. There were 3 rows of buttons on Thud's chest. All of them glowed green, except the big purple button in the middle. Thud pressed the purple button. It blinked 3 times and went dark. Meep. Unkai not answer, said Thud. He's probably on some super secret project, said Andrew. Judy groaned. Let's get off this stupid bug as soon as it stops, she said. We'll look for a safe place and wait till Uncle Al calls us. As the stick insect skittered up the tree, Andrew noticed that the tree trunk looked like a tangle of fat snakes. "This is a super strange tree," said Andrew. "Meep." "Strangler fig tree," said Thud. "Strangler," said Judy. "Meep." "Fig tree gotta strangle other tree to grow," said Thud. "Start when bird eat strangler fig fruit." "Bird fly." "Bird poop." "Fig seed fall into treetop." "Seed sprout." "Roots grow down to ground." "Get big, big, big." "Strangle tree underneath." "Roots turn into trunk for strangler figure." "Wowzers schnauzers," said Andrew. "Meat-eating plants." "Killer trees." "Weirdamundo," said Judy. All of a sudden, part of the gray-brown tree trunk above them seemed to whip around. It was scrambling toward them. Andrew squinted. He made out a lizardy head with fearsome spikes at the top. A row of spikes ran down its neck. "Yeah," screamed Judy. "Holy moly," yelled Andrew. "Eek!" squeaked Thud. "Forest dragon lizard. Eat stick insects." The creature's neck was puffing out. Its mouth opened a pink-purple cave surrounded by small, sharp teeth. Their stick insect turned away from the forest dragon. Then it was still as a statue. Judy gave it a little kick. "Get going! Giddy up! That monster is going to eat you." But the bug didn't move. Suddenly Andrew was getting soaked. His eyes were burning. His nose filled with a peppermint smell so strong it hurt to breathe. "Blurf," yelped Andrew. "Ayock," hollered Judy. An awful spray was shooting from the back of the insect's head in, blasting the lizard's face. The lizard shook its head. In an instant, it sped down the tree trunk. The stick insect scurried higher up the tree trunk. "Eka! ECKUH!" Judy coughed. "It smells like peppermint, but it's awful, meep." "This bug called peppermint stick insect," said Thud. "Peppermint smell make lots of predators go away." Just then, the big purple button in the middle of Thud's chest started to blink. "Meep." "Unkai," said Thud. "Finally," said Judy. Thud's purple button popped open and a beam of purple light zoomed out. At the end of the beam floated a see-through purplish Uncle Al. Uncle Al's shaggy hair always looked like he had just pulled a sweater over his head. His face crinkled into a smile. "Hey there," he said with a wave. "Hey, Uncle Al," said Andrew. "I'm away from my laboratory at the moment," continued Uncle Al. "Oh no," said Judy. "It's not Uncle Al. It's just his answering machine." "Your message has reached my hologram helper answering machine," said Uncle Al. "If you're calling to have a friendly chat, please press 1. If you have discovered life on another planet, please press 2. If you're complaining about smells coming from my laboratory, press 3. If this is a purple button emergency, I will contact you as soon as I can." The Uncle Al hologram waved. "Goodbye. Have fun. Think big." Then it disappeared. 4. No laughing matter. "Cheese Louise," said Judy. "Just when we need Uncle Al, he's not there." Andrew tightened his grip on the peppermint stick insect. "For now, I guess we should stick with this bug," he said. "At least it's got a way to defend itself, and us too." As the stick insect climbed higher, the tree trunk became a forest. Mosses grew in velvety green patches and hung in gray strands. Fern fronds leaned over Andrew and Judy like lacy green umbrellas. As they passed dark holes in the tree trunk, Andrew heard noises scratching, tapping, hissing. Andrew imagined what was living deep inside the tree. He shivered. Came a sound like a wild party from the treetops. Meep. Laughing kookaburra bird, said Thud, pointing way above. A bird the size of a seagull landed on a branch nearby. Jumping gerbils, said Andrew. It looks as big as a pterodactyl. Then another kookaburra flew down, and then another. I'll bet they're looking for bugs, said Judy. The peppermint stick insect scuttled onto a branch and was scurrying around a mountain of brown fur. Andrew turned to see the kookaburras swooping toward them. Hope this bug has a lot of peppermint spray left, thought Andrew. The fur mountain next to them shook. In an instant, it unfolded itself into a black-faced, sharp-clawed creature that towered over them like King Kong. "Ya," hollered Judy. "Oh," Andrew gulped. "Meep." "Tree kangaroo," squeaked Thud. "Kinda kangaroo that always live in trees. Tree kangaroo leap far, far, far. Leap from tree to tree." The tree kangaroo crouched down, then sprang through the leaves. "Who? Who? Who?" The kookaburras scattered. The tree kangaroo's jump made the branch dip low, then spring up high and hard. "It's like I'm on a bucking bronco," thought Andrew, trying to hang on to the bug. But the branch bounced into a dangling vine that scraped Andrew and Judy off the stick insect. They were falling through the branches of the tree. "Yarg," hollered Andrew. "Yikes," screamed Judy. "Poof," shouted Andrew, landing on a leaf lower down in the tree. "Yuck," came a muffled screech from below. It was Judy. It sounded like she was inside a bottle. "Get me out of here." Andrew peered over the edge of the leaf, but he couldn't see Judy. "Where are you?" hollered Andrew. "Here," shouted Judy. A hand shot out of a hole in a giant white lump on a tree branch below. The lump was covered with long, sharp thorns taller than Andrew. "Irk," yelled Judy. "Hurry up, bug brain. A monster ant is trying to bite off my leg." "5, we just ate what?" "Here I come, Judy," yelled Andrew, grabbing onto ferns and mosses. He lowered himself down the tree trunk. "Umph. Ack. Ugh," came the sounds of Judy's struggle. "Meep. Woody fall into ant house plant," squeaked Thud. Ant house plant got big, fat thorny stem. Ants live inside. Make lots of tunnels inside stem. Make tunnels for baby ants. Make tunnels for garbage. Ants get place to live. Plant get food from ant garbage. Ants happy. Plant happy. "Judy's sure not happy," said Andrew. By the time Andrew made his way through the tall thorns of the ant house plant, Judy was just pulling herself out of the hole. "Phew," she sighed, mopping strands of frizzy hair away from her face. "Meep. Drud and Woody go rest on branch for little bit," said Thud. "Thud get treat." "Treat?" asked Judy. "Everything here is nasty." She and Andrew stepped carefully through the sword-like spines and crept toward the tree trunk. "Meep. Put Thud down, please, Drud," said Thud. Drud and Woody close eyes. "Oh, all right," said Judy, finding a velvety patch of moss to stretch out on. Before long, Thud came back. He was dragging 2 leaf pieces. In the middle of each piece was a spot of wetness. "Meep. Treat ready," said Thud. He handed a piece of leaf to Andrew and a piece to Judy. "Lick leaf." Andrew held the wet spot up to his nose. He mused. "This reminds me of something. Candy. Some kind of candy." He licked the leaf. "Super duper pooper scooper." Andrew cheered. "This stuff is delicious. Tastes like fizzy lime." What is this stuff? Asked Judy, sniffing her leaf. Meep. Ooty taste, said Thud. Humph, said Judy. She touched the wet spot with the tip of her tongue. Yum, she said, beaming Thud a big smile. Now you have to tell us what it is. Thud pinched his way up Andrew's shirt and crept back into his pocket. Then he pointed to a shiny green insect skittering along the branch. Meep. Green ant, said Thud. But of green ant got powerful lime taste. People in rainforest lick but of green ant 'cause it taste good, good, good. Judy's face went white. Blurg. She spit out what was in her mouth, then she kept spitting. Andrew grinned. Ah, come on, Judy, he said. It tasted great, even if it did come from an ant's butt. Judy wiped her mouth with her sleeve. If you ever do anything like that again, Thud, I'm going to take out your batteries and throw them away. Suddenly Thud's purple buttons started to blink again. It popped open and the hologram of Uncle Al appeared. He was wearing a t-shirt with a picture of an iguana on it. Hey there, said Uncle Al with a big smile. Sorry it took so long to get your message. Hey, Uncle Al, said Andrew. Hiya, Unkai, said Thud. We're up a stupid tree, Uncle Al, said Judy. You've got to get us out of here. Uncle Al's eyebrows went up. You guys are great climbers, he said. I'm surprised you can't get down by yourselves. But I'll be right over. Where are you? When Uncle Al visited Andrew and Judy by using his hologram helper, he could hear them but not see them. In the Australian rainforest, said Judy. Good golly, Miss Molly, exclaimed Uncle Al. His eyebrows came together. How did that happen? It's a long story, said Andrew. But it doesn't matter how we got here, Judy interrupted. All that matters is getting out before we get eaten by beetles or birds or something. The Australian rainforest is a dangerous place, said Uncle Al, but you don't have to worry about beetles and birds. That's not exactly true, said Andrew. We, got ourselves shrunk by the boa constrictor I built to shrink garbage. Now we're the size of small beetles. Albert Einstein on an egg sandwich, exclaimed Uncle Al. You shrunk yourselves again? He shook his head. I'll get the whole story later, he said. But I need to leave right away so I can get to Australia tonight. Do you have any idea where you are, Meep? Northeast part of Australia, said Thud. Ah, said Uncle Al, the Daintree rainforest. Let me think. He crossed his arms over his chest. I have an idea, he said. 6, trapped. Uncle Al rubbed his chin. It would be very hard to find you in the middle of the rainforest, he said. But a river runs through it. If you can find a way to travel down the river, it will carry you to a place where I can find you. Wowzers, said Andrew. He pushed a hand into one of his pants pockets. I have some bubble, he said. We can use it to float down the river. Bubble was a special bubble gum that Andrew had invented. You could blow it up so big that you could get inside it. Judy frowned. We're surrounded by trees in this stupid jungle, she said. We'll never be able to see where the river is. What kind of a tree are you in? Asked Uncle Al, Meep. Strangler fig, said Thud. Great, said Uncle Al, they're usually very tall. Climb to the top of the tree. You'll probably be able to see the river from there. Note the direction, climb down the tree, and hike to the river. Judy groaned. Climb up the tree. Climb down the tree. Hike to the river. There's dangerous stuff in these trees. And who knows what awful things are on the ground and in the river. Uncle Al wasn't smiling now. You guys have done things that no one else has ever done, he said. You can do this. Keep your eyes open and be very careful. How will you find us on the river, Uncle Al? Asked Andrew. I have to talk fast, said Uncle Al. The batteries on my hologram helper are running out. Listen closely. On the edge of the rainforest, there's a village, said Uncle Al. You'll see the lights. The river is very narrow there. I'll string a fine net across the river and catch you. But how will you even know you caught us? Asked Judy. We're so small, and it will be dark by then. You'll never find us, Em. Got idea, Unkai, squeaked Thud. What is it, Thud? Asked Uncle Al, Meep. Lots of rainforest stuff glow in dark, said Thud. Bugs, caterpillars, worms, mushrooms got bioluminescence. Mean live ing light. A smile stretched across Uncle Al's face. Brilliant, Thud, he said. His voice was beginning to sound far away. Ghost mushrooms. They glow so brightly, you can read by their light. They're easy to find on the forest floor. Uncle Al's voice was so soft that Andrew and Judy could barely hear him. His hologram was fading. Uncle Al, you're disappearing, said Judy. Uncle Al raised his eyebrows. His lips moved faster, but it sounded as though he were mumbling underwater. Uncle Al, shouted Judy. Come back! But with a pop and wiggle, he disappeared. Andrew looked at Judy and shrugged. Guess we'd better get climbing, he said. Judy glanced up and shook her head. The top of the tree is so high, we can't even see it, she said. It'll be easy to climb up, said Andrew. The bark is rough. And we can grab onto the ferns and mosses. Judy cocked her head. And what about the weird things that want to eat us, she said. Meep. Peppermint smell keeps some animals away, maybe, said Thud. Judy rolled her eyes. Thank you, Thud. Andrew grabbed the stem of a fern frond, got a foothold in the tree bark, and began climbing. Come on, he called down to Judy. It's getting darker. It must be way past noon by now. We've got to meet Uncle Al tonight. Humph, Judy grumbled. But she grabbed a long gray strand of moss and started up. Climbing was hard. Soon Andrew and Judy were huffing and puffing. Sweat dripped down their foreheads and into their eyes. Their arms and legs got scraped by the tree bark. They were too out of breath to talk. A stream of green ants trickled down the tree. Andrew would have liked more of that fizzy, limey stuff, but there was no time for that. Meep. Look, squeaked Thud, pointing up. Top of the tree close, close, close. Wowzers schnauzers, cheered Andrew. We can get there in half an hour. Judy stopped and pushed strands of hair away from her sweaty face. I need a break, she said. She crept from the tree trunk to a branch and flopped down on an orange fungus. Just for a couple of minutes, said Andrew, sitting down beside her. Suddenly something dropped over them. A net. 7, eat this. Y-A-A-H, hollered Judy. Holy moly, said Andrew. He tried to pull the net off. But the more he struggled, the more tangled he got. Eek! Squeaked Thud. Net throwing spider. Spider weave net from spider silk. Watch for prey. Throw net on top of prey. Then spider bite prey with poison fangs. Gotta get out fast, fast, fast. I'm trying, said Judy, pulling at the spider silk. It stretched like chewing gum. The more they pulled, the more net there was to trap them. No op! No op! No op, squeaked Thud. Not pull web. Gotta eat web. Saliva in mouth break web. Judy's mouth dropped open and her eyes grew wide. Meep. Eat. Eat. Eat, screeched Thud. Andrew heard a rustle behind him. He spun around. A leaf quivered. In the shadow under the leaf, Andrew spied a hairy head. Below its two enormous, round black eyes were two gigantic, hairy fangs. "Yaargh," cried Andrew. His legs felt like pudding. Andrew turned and began stuffing globs of spider net into his mouth. Tastes kind of like milk, he thought. Judy was eating frantically, too. Her cheeks bulged with spider web. Suddenly Andrew felt something brush his back. The hairy brown fangs of the spider were rising up behind him. Andrew froze. Judy grabbed his arm and shoved him through the hole they'd eaten in the net. Broken strands of silk caught on their clothes, but they ripped themselves away. They were free. But the spider tore through its net. It was scuttling after them. "Ack!" screamed Judy as a claw scratched her scalp. They stumbled as fast as they could over the rough bark of the tree branch. Andrew looked frantically for a place to hide from the spider. Meep. "Look, Drood!" Thud squeaked. He was pointing to a group of tall, thick green towers sticking up from the branch. Hanging down from one of the towers was a star-shaped, red and white striped flower. It was as big as a person's foot. Andrew and Judy ducked under ferns and mosses as they scrambled toward the strange-looking thing. "Ugh," said Judy breathlessly. "Something stinks." "Woofers," said Andrew. "It's worse than when we got lost in the garbage." "What is that thing?" The closer they got to the strange plant, the worse the smell grew. The giant flower was covered with fuzzy red hairs and lots of flies. "Meep." "Called dead horse plant," said Thud. "'Cause flowers stink like dead thing. Smell of dead horse flower bring flies. Pollen from flowers stick to flies. Flies carry pollen to other dead horse flowers. Then flowers make seeds. Seeds make more baby dead horse plants, meep." "Hide under dead horse plant," said Thud. One of the spider's clawed feet pricked Andrew's leg. "Yeow," hollered Andrew. With a burst of energy, he flung himself between the green cactus-like columns of the dead horse plant. Suddenly the spider stopped. It scuttled to the monster flower. In a blur of speed, the fangs snatched a fly. Judy shivered. "That could have been you or me," she whispered. "Meep." "Spider busy eating fly," said Thud. "Drood and Udi gotta get out now. Gotta go up tree. Gotta find river." Slowly, quietly, Andrew and Judy crawled out from the green columns and away from the spider. They reached the tree trunk and began climbing again. Thud pointed out the birds that flashed through the tree screaming orange and green king parrots, black rifle birds that made a sound like a gunshot, and green catbirds that meowed. These sounds were all part of the whistling, buzzing, cackling, screaming, screeching music of the rainforest. "Meep." "Drood and Udi near treetops now," Thud said. "Called canopy of rain forest, lots of animals live in canopy. Lots of light up here. Lots of water from lots of rain. Canopy make shade for stuff that live underneath. Keep rainforest cool." Andrew kept climbing. "We're higher than most of the other trees now," he said. "So where's that stupid river?" said Judy. Just then, Andrew thought he saw a sparkle of light through the leaves. He climbed quickly to get a clear view. And then he saw a sliver of silvery river. "Super duper pooper scooper." Andrew yelled, creeping from the trunk to a branch. The river! It's close, he shouted to Judy, who was inches behind him. As he looked down, Andrew glimpsed something that made the back of his neck prickle. A few branches below, a coil of yellow and black stripes was beginning to unwind. 8. Fasten your seat belts. Eek! Squeaked Thud. Python snake. Judy's face went white. SSS snake, she stuttered. Get up here, Judy, yelled Andrew. There's a hole in the trunk. We can hide in it. In an instant, Judy scrambled up to where Andrew was. Andrew pushed away strands of moss that covered the hole and crept inside. Judy followed him. At first it was too dark to see. We should be safe here, said Andrew. Wait a minute, said Judy. You're the one who told me that a snake's tongue can smell prey. And that they've got these little pits near their jaws that feel the heat from warm-blooded animals like us. So just because it's dark in here doesn't mean a snake can't find us, meep. Udi and Drud got peppermint smell, said Thud. Hide animal smell. Udi and Drud small. Not got lots of heat. Hard for snake to find, maybe. Andrew thought he heard a soft grumble. He remembered the strange noises he had heard deep inside the tree trunk. There's something in here, he whispered to Judy. As his eyes got used to the darkness, Andrew made out a shape. It was a creature the size of a chipmunk. It seemed to be asleep. Its ears were as big as bats' ears. Its eyes were closed. But Andrew could tell by its bulging lids that its eyes were enormous. It's so cute, said Judy. But it would, probably eat us if it were awake, said Andrew. Yoop. Yoop. Yoop, said Thud. Called sugar glider. Live in treetops of rainforest. Eat bugs. Got flap of skin between front and back legs. When sugar glider jump from trees, stretch legs. Skin flaps stretch like sail. Sugar glider glide from tree to tree. Sugar glider is marsupial like kangaroo. Female marsupial got pouch for baby. Look. By the light of Thud's face screen, Andrew could see a little slit where a belly button would be. Well, it's sleeping, said Judy. We can hide from the snake and it won't even know we're here. Eek! Squeaked Thud. Sugar glider is snake candy. Sugar glider big enough for snake to smell, feel heat. Andrew examined the opening of the hole. I don't know if the hole is big enough for the snake to get in, he said. But it's sure going to try, said Judy. For a moment, the only sound inside the hole was the sugar glider snoring. I have an idea, said Judy. Andrew, go see where the snake is now. Andrew peered over the edge of the hole. The snake was curling around the tree trunk. Andrew could see its thin black tongue flicking in and out of its mouth. It's coming up, said Andrew. But it's moving slowly. Get into the pouch, bug brain, said Judy. Huh, said Andrew. Snakes eat sugar gliders. Not if there aren't any sugar gliders to eat, said Judy. We'll rumble around inside her pouch. If we're lucky, she'll wake up, scoot out of the hole, and glide away before the snake gets here. Come on, said Judy. And be careful not to wake her up till we're ready. Wowzers, said Andrew. If this works, we save us and the sugar glider. Andrew crept quickly to the middle of the furry sleeping body. He began wiggling his way into the pouch, feet first. It was like getting into bed with sheets tucked tightly under the mattress. Inside the pouch, it was hot and damp. The sugar glider gave a little sigh and shifted in its sleep. Judy had trouble getting in. She kicked Andrew in the head. She poked the sugar glider in the belly. The sugar glider stirred. It shook itself. It rolled onto its feet and stuck its head out of the hole in the tree trunk. Zih-su, 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 it chattered. Meep. Sugar glider afraid, thud said the sugar glider scurried onto the branch outside the hole and stood on its hind legs. SSS, 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 came a hiss. It sounded close. SSS, SSS, SSS. A scaly yellow and black head rose above the branch. From the sugar glider's pouch, Andrew looked into the snake's black eyes. The snake's tongue darted so close, Andrew could have touched it. Suddenly, Andrew's stomach seemed to jump into his mouth. The sugar glider had flung itself from the branch. The skin between its front and back legs was stretched tight like a kite. They were sailing through the jungle. The wind in Andrew's face made his eyes water. He looked down through the leafy layers of jungle speeding by and got dizzy. The next instant, they jolted to a stop. The sugar glider had landed on the branch of a small tree. She was licking her paws like a cat. "Ew!" shrieked Judy. "There's something wet and rubbery in here. It's squirming against my leg." Just then, a tiny, skinny dark tail poked out of the pouch between Andrew and Judy and disappeared. Then a little pink head no bigger than a baby's fingernail peeked out for an instant. "Awk!" Judy hollered. "It's a worm with a head." "No op! No op! No op," said Thud. "Baby sugar glider. Called Joey. Joey born small as grain of rice. Joey live in pouch, drink milk from mother for lots of weeks." Judy wrinkled her nose. "Let's get out of here," she said. While the sugar glider was busy grooming herself, they snuck out of her pouch. It was a short climb down to the rainforest floor. The light was dim. The canopy of leaves blocked the sunlight. Thick roots tangled over the wet ground. As far as Andrew could see, the forest floor was covered with fallen leaves, smashed fruit, and brightly colored funguses. Now and then, a damp leaf shuddered as though something were moving underneath. Andrew walked along a mossy root and sniffed the smells of the jungle floor. Like wet dirt, he thought. And rotten things and sweet, flowery stuff. The air was alive with buzzes and hisses and croaks. Judy poked Andrew's shoulder. "You saw the river, bug brain," she said. "So which way is it?" Andrew looked around. Then he pointed toward a thicket of vines with leaves as big as elephant ears. The river is that way. I think." 9. Saved by the smell. Judy pushed her face next to Andrew's. "You'd better be right, bug brain," she said. "Or else we're jungle chow." The deep shadows of this place gave Andrew the spooks. "Let's get going," he said. "We have to get to the river. And we've got to find the ghost mushrooms before we get there," said Judy. They began their trudge across the rainforest floor. The jungle floor buzzed and chattered. Here and there, dead leaves twitched. "Kakaka kakaka," came a sound from behind them. Andrew turned to see a slender flying insect, long as a pinky finger, darting above a dark lump on the ground. Then 2 legs long, thin, dark, hairy legs shot up from the lump. The lump was a fat, hairy spider. Its legs clawed the air, reaching for the insect. From leg to leg, the spider was the size of a dinner plate. Andrew froze. "That spider looks as big as Godzilla," he whispered. "Meep." "Tarantula," said Thud. "Called bird-eating spider. Eat lizards, snakes, frogs, birds." "Kakaka kakaka kakaka." "It's making weird sounds," said Judy. "Meep." "Called barking spider, 2, said Thud. Spider in big fight with giant wasp called tarantula hawk. 'Cause female wasp hunt tarantulas. If wasp sting spider, spider not able to move. Then wasp lay egg inside spider. When egg hatch, baby wasp eat spider alive. Yuck, said Judy. That is so disgusting, meep. In lots of places, people eat tarantulas. Taste like crab meat. Neato mosquito, said Andrew. Ack! Judy gagged. With one of its front legs, the spider was scraping hairs off the front of its body. Then it flung them at the wasp. Duck! 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 Squeaked Thud. Tarantula hair got lots of poison. The fierce battle was scuffling closer to Andrew and Judy. Let's get out of here, gasped Judy. Meep. Hide behind Gimpy tree, said Thud. He pointed to a small, pretty tree with heart-shaped leaves the size of pizzas. But no touch. Gimpy tree got hairs on leaves, hairs on trunk. Every hair is tiny glass needle filled with strong poison. If animal touch Gimpy tree, hairs dig into skin. Hurt! 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 Even spider not touch Gimpy tree. Andrew and Judy scurried behind the Gimpy tree. They watched as the tarantula and the wasp charged each other. At last, the tarantula scuttled under a thorny bush. The wasp flew off. Let's go, said Andrew. Careful to stay away from its horrible hairs, Andrew and Judy crept away from the Gimpy tree. They continued their trek over the wet, slippery leaves. The light was getting dimmer. They strained to see the glow of ghost mushrooms on the shadowy forest floor. Suddenly Andrew felt something grab his ankles. "Earth!" he cried. The next instant, he was upside down. "Eek!" squeaked Thud, clinging to the edge of Andrew's pocket. "Ayock!" hollered Judy. They were upside down and speeding away. They were heading for a long black snout attached to a small head with beady black eyes. The animal's body was completely covered with long, sharp brown quills. "Yowzers!" cried Andrew. "Noo!" cried Judy. "Echidna!" squeaked Thud. "Spiny anteater!" Nose feel electric signals from living things. From ants, from bugs, from Druid and Udi. Just as they reached the dark tunnel of the echidna's mouth, the tongue stopped reeling them in. "Snoof, snoof," sniffed the echidna. Judy shuddered. "We're going to be eaten by a pincushion with a head," she moaned. Then, as fast as the echidna's tongue had reeled them in, it spun them out and shook them off. Judy and Andrew landed in a brown slimy puddle. The echidna turned and waddled away. "Cheese Louise," shouted Judy. "We got lucky." "I wonder why it didn't eat us," said Andrew. "Meep." "Druid and Udi still smell like peppermint," said Thud. "Maybe echidna not like peppermint." Andrew and Judy wiped the slime off as best they could and trudged on. As the day grew late, the colors of the rainforest faded to black and gray. The screeches and screams died away. Now the jungle chirped and chittered and whistled. The air felt like a cool velvet blanket against Andrew's skin. Andrew stopped and sniffed the air. "I smell something fishy," he said. "We're getting close to the river." Judy peered into the shadows. "I see lights," she said. 10. The biggest problem is getting smaller. Meep. "Ghost mushrooms," squeaked Thud. "I never thought I'd be so happy to see a fungus," said Judy. They picked their way through the darkness toward the little lights. The ghost mushrooms surrounded a huge tree trunk like a necklace. The cap at the top of each mushroom looked like a glowing, pale green parachute. Judy stood under one of the mushrooms. We're too small to break off chunks of these mushrooms, she said. Meep. Cap of mushroom got lots of thin sheets underneath, said Thud. Sheets called gills. Gills got tiny spores. Spores make baby mushrooms. Gotta climb up stem of mushroom, pull off gills. Andrew and Judy shinnied up a mushroom stem. The gills were as thin as tissue paper. They were almost as close together as the pages of a book. Andrew and Judy ripped off bits of the soft, spongy gills and tossed them to the ground. Tiny round spores rained down like twinkling fairy powder. Sarah long, a circle of glowing shreds surrounded the mushroom. Okie dokie, said Thud. Got enough pieces now. Andrew and Judy climbed down the stem and gathered up the bits of mushroom in their arms. The mushroom heaps were bright enough to light their path. Andrew spied a streak of moonlight on water. The river, he shouted. Meep. Careful, Drud, squeaked Thud. Lots of strange stuff near river. Fish catching spiders. Toad that spray deadly poison. Thanks, Thud, said Judy. At the riverbank, their feet sank in the squishy mud up to their ankles. They plodded along until they found a little pool of water at the edge of the river. Andrew placed his pile of mushroom gills on a pebble. From a pants pocket, he pulled a small paper-wrapped square. The wrapper was printed with the word umbubble. Andrew pulled off the paper, popped the blue square into his mouth, and chewed. He blew a bubble as big as his head. Andrew kept blowing until the umbubble was bigger than he was, till it was as big as a ping-pong ball. Phew! Andrew sighed. He rolled the umbubble onto a leaf. We'll stick the mushroom pieces on the inside so Uncle Al can see us, said Andrew. Then Andrew rolled the umbubble to the edge of the water. He found the small hole in the umbubble where he had blown air into it. He shoved his head through the hole, then his shoulders, then the rest of him. Hand me all the mushroom pieces, Judy, he said. And come on in. Judy heaped the shreds in her arms and shoved them through the hole. Then she pushed herself inside the umbubble. Stick the pieces on quickly, said Andrew, before the umbubble dries and gets hard. Andrew and Judy worked fast to cover the inside of the umbubble with the glowing fragments. When they were done, Andrew sealed the umbubble by pulling the edges of the hole together. It'll be ready in a few seconds, said Andrew. Judy tapped the umbubble. Feels like plastic, she said. Now we get the umbubble into the water, said Andrew. Just walk inside it like a gerbil in a wheel. They walked, and the glowing umbubble rolled into the little pool. Moonlit ripples of water pulled them away from the dark shapes on the shore. Soon the river current picked them up and raced them away. All of a sudden, the umbubble came to a stop. We must be caught on something, said Andrew. He peered through a space between the mushroom pieces. The umbubble had washed up against something big. Looks like a log, said Andrew. He squinted. A log with eyes, meep. Platypus, said Thud. A platypus, said Andrew. I've always wanted to see a platypus. But I always thought I'd be bigger than the platypus when I saw it. Platypus, said Judy, trying to get a good view. The bizarro mammal that has a beak like a duck and lays eggs, meep. Got beaver tail and webbed feet, said Thud. Platypus beak feel electricity from animal muscles. Find prey same way as echidna. And we're right next to its beak, said Judy. The umbubble rolled over a wave. On the other side of it was a flying saucer shape. What's that lump in the water? Asked Judy. It's headed right at us. Eek! Squeaked Thud. Numb fish. Numb fish make electricity. Make big shock to catch prey. Suddenly Andrew's stomach lurched as the bubble flew up, spun around, and plopped back into the water. A powerful tingle began in Andrew's toes. It jangled up to his head like lightning and pounded his skull like a hammer. Black and white spirals twirled in front of his eyes. Then everything went completely dark. Andrew was having a dream about octopuses battling platypuses when he heard a little voice. Meep. Wake up, Druid, squeaked Thud. Andrew rubbed his eyes. Huh? Wah, he mumbled sleepily. Bubble get shock from numb fish, said Thud. Druid been sleeping long time. Andrew's head wasn't pounding anymore and the spirals were gone, but he felt a little dizzy. Why does the top of the bubble look so far away? And why is it getting farther away? Thought Andrew. Gee enough, new. Andrew looked over at Judy. She was snoring and she was tiny, tinier than before. And she was getting tinier every second. Holy moly! Thought Andrew. It must be the electricity. The electricity from the numb fish is shrinking us smaller. Meep. Look, Druid, squeaked Thud. Lights of village. Indeed, as Andrew peered through the bubble, he saw lights on the bank of the river. He saw the dark outline of a boat and the familiar shape of Uncle Owl. The bubble whammed against something and stopped suddenly. The jolt sent Andrew and Judy flying through the bubble. Andrew landed against Judy. Super duper pooper scooper, said Andrew. We're caught in Uncle Owl's net. Wake up, Judy! Uncle Owl's here. We're getting rescued. But Judy just rolled over and kept on snoring and getting smaller. The boat was almost on top of the bubble now. The next moment, the bubble swooped into the air. Between the mushroom pieces, Andrew saw Uncle Owl's giant fingers. Something tapped the bubble. Ping! It cracked. Andrew, Judy, and Thud fell onto Uncle Owl's palm and bounced onto his wrist. Uncle Owl beamed a flashlight on his open hand. His smiling face glowed like a full moon. Super duper pooper scooper, cheered Andrew. We're safe. To be continued in Andrew, Judy, and Thud's next exciting adventure. Andrew lost an Uncle Owl. In stores July 2007. True stuff. Thud wanted to tell you more about carnivorous plants and platypuses, but he was busy keeping Andrew and Judy from being gulped by a python and stung by a gimpy tree. Here's what he wanted to say: most plants use their roots to take up all the food they need from the soil. But rainforest soil doesn't have much food. That's why some rainforest plants catch insects and some other small animals they need the extra nutrition. Rhinoceros beetles might be the strongest animals on Earth. One rhinoceros beetle could carry 800 other rhinoceros beetles on its back. A human who was as strong as a rhinoceros beetle could carry 70 cars. Australia has 10,000 kinds of spiders, more than any other place in the world. And new kinds are being discovered all the time. Australia also takes the prize for spiders with the strongest venom. There are different kinds of rainforests. Rainforests in warm areas near the equator are called tropical rainforests or jungles. These are what we think of when we hear the words rainforest. There are a few rainforests in cooler areas, too. These are called temperate rainforests. The plants and animals in the two kinds of rainforests are quite different. In tropical rainforests, trees usually have large, broad leaves to capture as much sunlight as they can. In temperate rainforests, most of the trees have nada like pine trees. There are more different kinds of plants and animals in tropical rainforests. But all rainforests get lots of rain, at least 100 inches of rain each year. A 6-foot-tall person is 72 inches high. Some rainforests get 400 inches of rain in a year. Tropical rainforests have layers. The layer created by the treetops is called the canopy. This layer covers the rainforest like an umbrella. The canopy gets most of the sunlight, and most of the rainforest animals live there. The canopy keeps the rainforest cool. Some very tall trees, like the one that Andrew and Judy climb, stick up through the canopy. These especially tall trees make up the emergent layer of the rainforest. The area between the canopy and the forest floor is called the understory. It gets much less light. Bushes and ferns and young trees are found there. The forest floor gets only a tiny amount of light. Whatever falls to the ground, dead leaves, dead animals, poop, is quickly eaten by insects and other animals. These things disappear so fast that they never release their nutrients back into the soil. That's one reason why the soil doesn't contain much food for plants. Another reason is that the huge amounts of rain wash away the nutrients in the soil. Platypuses may be the strangest animals in the world. A platypus is a furry mammal with a flat bill like a duck, webbed feet, and a wide, flat tail that stores fat for the winter. And they lay eggs. Platypuses and echidnas are the only mammals that lay eggs. Platypus eggs are sticky. They stick to the fur on their mother's belly. When the eggs hatch, the baby platypuses hang onto their mother's belly fur and drink milk. The only places where you can find platypuses and echidnas in the wild are Australia and some nearby islands. When scientists first saw a platypus that was stuffed and sent back to England, they didn't believe it was a real animal. They tried to find stitches to prove that it was sewn together from the parts of many different animals. Where to find more true stuff? Would you like to find out more about weird and wonderful rainforests? Here are some books you might enjoy. Afternoon on the Amazon by Mary Pope Osborne, New York, Random House Books for Young Readers, 1995. All rainforests are different. Read this book if you'd like an adventure that includes the piranhas, jaguars, and flesh-eating ants of the South American rainforest. Rainforests by Will Osborne and Mary Pope Osborne, New York, Random House Books for Young Readers, 2001. This is the nonfiction companion book to Afternoon on the Amazon. It's full of great facts about the rainforest and tips for even more research. One Day in the Tropical Rainforest by Jean Craighead George, New York, Harper Trophy, 1995. Rainforests are mysterious places that are home to many plants and animals that haven't been discovered. Yet large areas of rainforests are destroyed every year. This book tells the story of how one boy helped save his rainforest and why it's worth saving. One Small Square, Tropical Rainforest by Donald M. Silver, New York, McGraw-Hill, 1998. If you want to see great pictures of what lives in every layer of the rainforest, look for this book. You'll also find amazing facts, fun activities, and easy experiments. Australian Animals by Caroline Arnold, New York, HarperCollins, 2000. Did you know that penguins live in Australia? Can you imagine what a thorny devil looks like? And what is a quoll? In this book, you'll find great pictures and facts about some absolutely amazing Australian animals. Platypus by Joan Short, Jack Green, and Bettina Bird, New York, Mondo Publishing, 1997. You've got to see what a platypus looks like. You'll also learn about how they live along the riverbanks in Australia. National Geographic, Really Wild Animals. Totally Tropical Rainforest, Washington, D.C., National Geographic Society, 1994. If you can't hop a plane and visit a rainforest right now, get your hands on this videotape. Turn the page for a sneak peek at Andrew, Judy, and Thud's next exciting adventure. Andrew Lost in Uncle A.L. Available July 2007. 1. Nye. Andrew Double, smaller than a speck of dust, flopped onto his Uncle A.L.'s wrist. G'nuff, G'nuff, G'nu. Judy snored. With one hand, Andrew clutched the collar of Judy's jacket to keep her from falling off Uncle Al's wrist. With his other hand, Andrew clung to a hair. Nye. The sound was close by. A mosquito, thought Andrew. Nye. Then Andrew made out what looked like the hairy bud of a flower with a long stem. At the other end of the stem was a horrible face. Two large black eyes covered most of it like a helmet. Hairy antennas stuck out from under the eyes. The bud-shaped thing was zooming down toward Andrew and Judy. Suddenly it opened and slammed down over them. Eek! Squeaked Thud. Mosquito snout! Called Proboscis. Andrew and Judy were squashed between two walls with razor-sharp edges. Mosquito gonna bite, squeaked Thud. Andrew? Judy said sleepily. Jeepers creepers, said Andrew. You've been asleep for a long time. Judy rubbed her eyes. Where are we? She asked. Where's Uncle Al? Before Andrew could answer, the blades inside the snout started moving. They were sawing into Uncle Al's skin. Andrew sniffed a coppery smell. Blood. He thought. Eek! Mosquito snout gonna push Drew and Udi inside Uncle Al, squeaked Thud. Drew got schnozzle? Andrew pushed a hand into his pants pocket. He pulled out 2 pairs of black goggles with noses attached and mustaches underneath. He handed one pair to Judy. Put on the schnozzle, said Andrew. This isn't Halloween. Judy yelled. Meep. Quick! Quick! Quick, said Thud. The blades of the proboscis were sawing a hole in Uncle Al's skin. Andrew and Judy were on the very edge. A blade caught on Andrew's jacket and pulled him into the hole. Yowzers, hollered Andrew. Ayak, yelled Judy, tumbling in after. Just as Andrew was hooking the earpieces of the schnozzle behind his ears, a blasting spray drove him down and down. Before he could scream, Andrew disappeared under Uncle Al's skin.